Good morning. Thank you for joining in. I think we will go ahead and get started. Today's educational session is the second one in our series of 4. For our AOT program, NAMI offers 8 hours of education a year, and we decided to split them up to 4 in order to have these 2-hour educational sessions. Today's session is what are consumer run organizations, CROs, and what is peer support? And we have received many questions on what CROs are, what they can do, and what peer support is. And that's why we thought that this would be a great topic to have our second session on. So just to look over our agenda real quick, we will begin with introductions and going into discussing consumer-run organizations, discussing peer support, and then at the end we have time opening for any questions, any comments that anyone would like to bring up.
And I would say if you got anything, like when we're talking, if you think of a question, put it in the chat room because we can always go back and answer it later.
Definitely, yes, thank you. And then I'd like to begin with if everyone could include their name, your county, your role within AOT in the chat box. If you're not involved in AOT, you could also state that you're not an AOT, but you're still involved with something else. You could go ahead and put it in with your introduction. And I will begin by introducing myself. My name is Itzel Moya. I am the Assisted Outpatient Treatment Director with NAMI Kansas. I am also the chair of NAMI Southwest Kansas, one of the newer affiliates within NAMI Kansas. And I will turn it over to Kathy so she could introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Kathy Pennell, AOT specialist for Riley County. I am also the affiliate development and volunteer coordinator for NAMI Flint Hills, and that's Riley, Geary, and Pottawatomie County. So if you're here and you're in one of those counties, I'm your NAMI person, and my email is in the chat. And now I'll turn it over to Gina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gina Anderson, and I'm the AOT specialist in Ellis County, which is Hays, Kansas. And I'm also the executive director of the Hays CRO called High Plains Independence. We'll get this all confused for everybody. I'm thrilled to be here and anxious to educate people.
Thank you. And then we also have Christopher Hagel, who wasn't able to join us this morning, but he is the NAMI AOT specialist for the Douglas County area. He's also involved with the NAMI Douglas County, and then I know he also is involved with the CRO there in Douglas County. So Chris is the contact person for that area, and we will provide emails and contact information for us for whenever I email out the PowerPoint and the YouTube later on early next week. And if you were present at the last session that we had back in October, we really focused on explaining what NAMI is and what AOT is. And before going into our conversation this time around, I wanted to begin by going over what NAMI stands for and what AOT stands for. I know definitely in the mental health field and in a lot of fields, we get, there's a lot of alphabet soup, as I like to call it, a lot of acronyms that sometimes you might not know what they mean. So I definitely wanted to start off the session with describing those. So NAMI is a National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization that is dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness. NAMI has affiliates all over the state of Kansas and also all over the United States, and we really work on providing those evidence-based programs that people, family members, peers could join in and attend if available in their area. NAMI Kansas has 13 affiliates in the state, really spread out all over the area. we have a map on our website, NAMIKansas.org, that really does a good job at depicting what each affiliate is, what counties that we serve. And we are also currently working on 2 new affiliates, which are NAMI Golden Belt, which will be in the Great Bend area. And then also we are working on standing up NAMI Northwest Kansas, which we're hoping would be a good resource for the Northwest area. And then our newest one that we stood up earlier in 2022 was NAMI Southwest Kansas, which serves most of the counties in the Southwest Kansas area. And NAMI has many different signature programs that we offer, but for the AOT program, we do use these 4 evidence-based programs more than the rest. For peers, we have NAMI Connection and NAMI Peer-to-Peer. NAMI Connection is a peer-led support group for any adult who has experienced symptoms of mental illness. And this support group, NAMI Connection, is led by 2 trained facilitators who are peers. And each class consists of learning different skills, being able to communicate with each other, having that validation and that support from fellow peers. And then we have NAMI Peer-to-Peer, which is an 8-session educational course for adults with mental illnesses who are looking to better understand themselves and their recovery. And with these 8 different classes, similar structure, there's 2 different facilitators that host these classes, and each week there's a different thing that a person can learn. And these courses are available in person, depending on the affiliate, and most often than not, we always have something available through hybrid or through online. And we also have groups for family and friends. Our support group for that is NAMI Family Support Group. And Family Support Group, it has a similar structure to NAMI Connection. This is a peer-led support group for any adult with a loved one who has experienced mental illness, and this could be a family member, a friend, a significant other, a concerned neighbor. So really anyone that has a loved one or who is a caregiver that needs that extra support, it is more than welcome to attend these NAMI support group meetings, family support group. And then we have NAMI Family to Family, similar structure as NAMI Peer-to-Peer. It's an 8-week session educational program for family, friends, significant others, people with a mental illness. And these Family to Family is also led by 2 facilitators. We offer the online format, and we also, some areas do have in person, and each class is a different subject of something that could be beneficial to a family member. For example, speaking more about self-care, speaking more about reflective listening, about how to use I statements, how to better communicate with your loved one with a mental illness, and how to make sure as a caregiver, you're also taking time to take care of yourself. These 4 signature programs are currently what we most often someone within an AOT program might look for these resources, but NAMI Kansas also has other signature programs. And if anyone is curious, you could always go to the website where NAMIKansas.org, and where there is a explanation to all the programs that we do offer. And then going into really explaining what AOT is. So AOT stands for Assisted Outpatient Treatment. And anyone that was on our session last time really got the explanation of more in depth what AOT is. But AOT, the Assisted Outpatient Treatment, is a tool for civil courts and mental health systems to work collaboratively to help individuals with serious mental illnesses caught in a cycle of repeated hospitalizations, homelessness, and incarcerations. So the structure of AOT aims to motivate and assist individuals with a serious mental illness to engage in their treatments and ensure that the mental health system is attentive to their needs. It's important to really validate a person no matter what they are currently going through, if that is a person with a severe mental illness or their support system. It's important to really validate what their their story and their recovery process. And AOT does a really good job at really bringing a treatment team together to work together and help the person, the participant, gain any information and skills that they need to overcome their treatment and make all their appointments, or make sure they're not caught in the cycle as we see sometimes. And individuals who benefit from AOT have a history of inconsistent engagement, sometimes with treatment. We see it as, sometimes it's difficult to go to appointments or make appointments, and AOT teams really do a great job at making sure that any means are met, any means necessary to get to a participant to where they need to be and how they need to be there. And sometimes this lack of engagement or the inconsistencies develop due to diminished awareness of their needs for treatment. And that is something that AOT strives for, is to make sure all the boxes are checked and everyone is receiving the care that they definitely need. Currently in Kansas, we have 6 pilot sites involved within one project, and there are other AOT pilot sites in the state, but these 6 are working together on the same program. And we have Cowley County, which is 4-County Mental Health Center, Douglas, Burt Nash Community Mental Health Center, Ellis with High Plains Mental Health Center, Ford with Compass Behavioral Health, Riley with Pawnee Mental Health Services, Sumner is Sumner Mental Health Center. So if anyone is in the area, if one of these pilot sites is in your area and you have more questions, their team is definitely there to answer anything of within their structure. And we also, NAMI has AOT specialists in a couple of these. So we have Chris, who couldn't join us today. He is in Douglas County. He is a NAMI AOT specialist there, and he is available to answer any questions that are involving NAMI or any other community resources in the area. We have Gina there in Ellis County, who is also available to answer any questions regarding NAMI and community resources. And we have Kathy in Riley County, who's available for communication on NAMI and resources. I know their emails are in the chat box, but I will, as I stated previously, will be sending out their contact information. Personally, I am local in Ford County, so I'm available for anyone in the Ford County area for resources for any questions. And we are looking to fill up a position for Cowley and Sumner. So we have someone in that area that could offer any NAMI support and offer any communication when it comes to community resources. And now I would like to open up the floor for Kathy and to bring up a couple of discussion questions that we thought would be great conversation starters for today's presentation.
So how many of you knew about NAMI before being involved with NAMI? I mean, before being involved with AOT? And you can go ahead and unmute yourself or write in the chat, and we'll give you a couple minutes to do that.
Don't be shy. This is going to be long and boring if you don't help us.
That's right.
And that's okay.
All right. Brian said he was aware of NAMI, but did not know the specifics of it until AOT. Heather has heard about NAMI, but not in great detail.
Those comments are very much the normal response around NAMI, because it's one of the best kept secrets. Not quite as good as CROs, but it's close.
Gina, did you hear about NAMI?
I heard about NAMI when I was going to classes, when I was going to school at Fort Hays State, and they had a program, NAMI in Our Own Voice, which is one of the signature programs. And I was in social work, so we got credit for going to that. And that was the first time I found out about that NAMI even existed.
Jeff says he was involved in NAMI walks in 2005.
Okay.
Jeff, we have a NAMI walks coming up in May. So if you'd like to participate in that, you can go to the NAMI Kansas website and scroll down, and everything about the walk is there. And that applies for everybody on here on this call. We
Yeah.
need your support. I didn't know about NAMI until after COVID started.
Wow.
So, and now I am involved 24/7. So, next question is, do you see NAMI in your community? This could be at events or presentations or anything.
Well, I know in Hayes, when the newspaper was around, we used to put NAMI. We had a monthly blurb about NAMI sport groups, when they were and things like that. So it was there, but I don't think that people understood it too much until we started doing the peer-to-peer and the family-to-family. That really opened the door, at least for Ellis County.
Heather says no, but she's newly returned to the area. Rebecca says NAMI has a large presence in Sedgwick County.
Mm-hmm.
They assist with different presentations, CIT panels, and we have a NAMI rep attend each AOT hearing to support participants and families.
Awesome.
It's Al, what about
So
you?
I know, so I had a similar experience to Gina. I'm a Dodge City native, but I went to Fort Hays State University, and when I was living in Hays, that's when I first got exposed to NAMI. And funny enough, it was also because of social work major. So we, why not attend NAMI and get some school credit for that? And then I realized how awesome NAMI really was and everything that they offered. And as Gina said, it's one of those best kept secrets. And then I asked the question, what can we do to bring NAMI to the Southwest Kansas area? Because definitely rural Kansas has struggles with mental health services and having resources in the western area of the state. And that's when the idea was born back in November 2020. We started working towards recruiting people that would like to be involved. And then we eventually started the application process, and we were approved by NAMI National, and now we have NAMI Southwest Kansas. And we're newer, so I know in the area a lot of people in our area don't know that we exist, but the plan is to make that grow, hopefully within the next couple months to a year. Really have everyone in the Southwest Kansas area know that we're here, that we're available, and that we could facilitate groups. Personally, I'm a trained family facilitator, and I could facilitate family to family and family support group, and I'm hoping that by that we could really tie together the resources that we have in this area.
Okay.
I have a question, Brian. Where are you located?
I'm down in Wellington, Kansas.
Oh, okay. Yep. Wellington is one of the CROs that closed. So I was just wondering where you were at so I could help identify.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One more response. Tara says she has heard of NAMI, but not an explanation of what all they provide. And she has not really seen much NAMI in the community, and that's Ellis County. I myself, I don't know if I saw NAMI out in the community because I didn't know it existed and wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
But I am trying to make sure that we are getting out there. So the next question, what would you like NAMI to offer in your community? And throw some ideas at us because it's something that we need to know. And also, if you don't, if you have you can let us know anytime, like you have all our emails, and you can also contact us on the website. And just like, let us know what you would, your suggestions, your ideas.
Yeah, I know in the Southwest Kansas area, what we really would like to see is more, I think probably support groups in maybe those educational groups, just to, because I know it's a very needed resource in this area.
And I will bring up too, with COVID, we've actually got more access to support groups because you can go to support groups anywhere in the state of Kansas. There's a support group almost every night. There's also, you can go to another state if you depending on what's going on. So we became a little more visible when COVID came, because then you could just log on from your home and you didn't have to go out in public, because there's still so much shame-based and guilt-based with family members and consumers about mental illness, and that the internet has made it easier access for us because you can talk if you want and you don't have to talk if you don't want. So I just plug that in.
And I would like to add on to that, like if you're a provider, and you don't feel comfortable joining a support group if there's one in your affiliate or in the state here in Kansas, you can, as Gina said, go to another state where you're not going to run into your clients or anybody you serve, and get your own support in another group. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Itzel.
Thank you, Kathy, for that conversation. I think sometimes it's necessary to know really where we need more resources in the state. I know for the western side of the state, that's how the conversation started in a presentation. What would you like to see? How do you think NAMI could help? And someone a few years back said, I think we need bigger presence and more resources in western Kansas. And it's a slow process sometimes, but we definitely made it happen. And following up in our presentation, we have what are CROs, and Gina has prepared a really interesting presentation on and how to inform us more about that. So we'll let Gina take the floor.
Thanks, guys. And so I want to ask, do we want to go around the room and introduce who's here? I mean, I didn't know when we did introductions if we wanted to acknowledge the people that are taking the time and the effort to join this.
We can, if whoever's comfortable with unmuting and just saying what the area they're from.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Mangel, and I'm out of Sedgwick County. I work for ComCare at the Community Crisis Center, and I am the AOT liaison here that works with Judge Rumsey.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tara Rollins. I had posted in the chat earlier. I'm based out of Plains Mental Health Center, but for those of you that have missed it, I'm out of the Hayes office. I'm just peer specialist out of there and a peer mentor for them. I'm just here to learn.
And I see your question, Tara, in the in the box. CROs are not branches of NAMI. CROs are standalone. And I'll explain that when I get into my presentation here in a second. And just give a couple more minutes if somebody else wants to come on.
Okay, I'm Sandy Bishop. I am out of Hutchinson, Kansas at Horizons Mental Health Center. And I'm the peer support supervisor, and then I do kind of the housing coordination. And I couldn't get my camera to work, so sorry.
You're fine. Thank you.
That's good. Anybody else want to jump on before I start my presentation?
My name is Brian Carr. I'm the AOT coordinator down here at Sumner Mental Health Center in Wellington, Kansas.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation. And the first part is not going to be on the slides because I had to come to Wichita, and that's where our local Consumer Advisory Council office is, and I needed to check some information. So I'm just going to give you some milestones in the consumer movement and the Kansas CROs. Consumer-operated self-help groups and organizations started to form across the United States as an alternative to traditional mental health services. And this was in the late 60s, early 70s. And that's when I first started dealing with mental health issues because I had a brother who was 7 years older than I was, who was diagnosed. In 84, the Self-Help Network at WSU was started. And before 1990, we only had 2 CROs in the state of Kansas. And then it just gradually grew, and to where we had, when I started with the CRO in Hayes, we had 22 CROs across the state, and it was huge. And I was so amazed at what was out there. And it was at my CRO that I found, after I'd found out about NAMI at school, then I got involved with the CRO like a couple years later. And then our CRO would take people to NAMI because we were open in the evening hours. So it's really quite interesting. This has come almost full circle, and we're still in the basic needs. We still have people who don't know about NAMI. We have people that don't know about CROs, and we run across people who think that they're not educated enough to be able to talk about it. But I'm here to tell you that if you're a consumer meaning the person who has a diagnosable mental illness, you are your best advocate for your mental health, and you are your expert in your own field. And that doesn't mean you know everything about others, but you know yourself, and you know what mental health has done in your life. Can we get the next slide? I'm going to give I'm going to have to, just a second, I got to get the chat out of there because I can't read. Okay, the next couple of slides are going to be KDADS, which is our funding source, Kansas Department of disability, aging. That's who we get funded through. This is their kind of definition of what a CRO does. And we kind of came up with this definition with a group of directors from the CROs coming together and giving their input on what was important when we say, what's a CRO? So CROs are peer recovery organizations that are founded and operated by individuals that self-identify as people who have experienced mental health, mental illnesses, substance abuse, or co-occurring disorders. And another word for co-occurring disorders is dual diagnosis. So, I just wanted to clarify that. CROs seek to provide a safe, healing, and trauma-free environment, which enhances wellness and promotes resiliency. Through mental health support, through mutual support, CROs share recovery stories and strategies to help each other overcome challenges to living a full and meaningful life in recovery. Next. CROs provide an array of services to their members, which include one-on-one peer support groups, self-help groups, housing support, life skills, health and wellness activities. And that sounds like a lot of technical stuff, but we're talking about the basic needs of, we teach about our own mental illness, we learn about our disease, we learn about our triggers, and then we share it in a group so that if I'm in a group setting and I get triggered, somebody else is going to know what works for me. And that's really important because we never know when we're going to get triggered. We just don't. Somebody could say something and it would seem like it was nothing to anybody else. But to the person who gets triggered, it becomes a stumbling block, basically. So if we can, meaning the peers, if we can self-identify some of those supports that we need, then when we're in groups, the other people know how to help us. Peer support is distinct from other social supports in that the person providing support can draw from their own recovery journey to inspire hope in others who are facing similar situations. There's no two persons that have the exact same story. So everybody's story is unique and everybody's story is important. And everyone's story has meaning. And peers provide knowledge, experience, emotional and social and practical learned experience from each other. Next, please. CROs in Kansas began in the early 1990s. That's when we started the process of becoming a 501c3. High Plains Independence, which is the Hayes area CRO, received their 501c3 status in 1994, but we did not become a CRO until 1997. There's a long process of, the paperwork, filling it out, getting the board together, then starting. So, it's a long process. And it used to be that people didn't think we could do that kind of thing. And we have proven that, the consumers have proven that they can handle this. Each CRO takes on the characteristics of their executive director and how they envision recovery-based services. For me, I'm very comfortable talking about my life and my life prior to my mental illness, because I grew up in a home where my brother, who was 7 years older than me, developed a mental illness And so at the beginning, I was a family member. And then later I realized I had some areas that I needed to look at. Okay, in the beginning, CROs chose to stay quieter than they are today. And I'm not sure that we're really that loud today either, but we are trying. And I know that for Hayes, we are on the radio now. We have quarterly articles in the newspaper. I speak at the college in this counseling classes, group counseling, and things like that. The recovery class for higher education. When the CROs started, they started as a drop-in center. And it was a place that to hang out during the hours the community mental health center was closed. And that when I first started coming to the Hayes CRO, HPII is what I like to call it, we were open like 5 at night until 8 at night because the mental health center closed at 5, and we gave a place to be until like 8 when people took their meds, were ready to start settling down for the evening and whatever. Today we work within the radius of what it means to be in recovery. Recovery is different for every person because we all have to start wherever we are. So we're not all on the same, we're all on the same path. We're just not walking side by side because people go, recover in different levels. Hayes, HPII work together with NAMI to provide educational information to consumers and their family. And I will go ahead and do the slide. I will say that I am certified both as a family member and a peer to teach both of those classes. In 2008, when I began attending HPII, I found out about NAMI in 2005. I didn't find out about the CRO till I moved back to Hayes in 2008. And the CRO provided transportation to the NAMI monthly meetings. I'm still active as a member of NAMI, and now I work as an AOT specialist for NAMI Kansas. One of the differences between NAMI and a CRO, NAMI is very structured in their program. They have a script that they go by. And so if you attend NAMI in another town, in another state, the program and the structure is the same. You're going to feel like, oh yeah, I'm back in, wherever home is for you. CROs, on the other hand, we're more flexible, and every group is different. And because it becomes the nature of who's in that CRO. My belief is the more educated you are about your diagnosis, the better you can find your way through your recovery journey. And I think that that's what I emphasize at my CRO, because I can't tell another person how to live their life. All I can do is educate them, give them the tools, and they have to decide what they can use and what they can't use. And that's really significant in the differences between CROs and NAMI. NAMI is about, this is the language you use, this is the program protocol we follow, this is what we offer. And with COVID, being able to offer it online is just absolutely awesome, because after working, I don't necessarily want to go out and go to an in-person meeting for another hour and a half after I get off work. So by being able to do it online, I can go home, get my supper, sit down at my computer and relax, and then have that time with NAMI. And then I believe in educating to learn about each other's diagnosis so we can understand other people's journeys and we can understand other people's triggers. For the CRO, I may not, and none of us can sit there and tell what everybody else's diagnosis is, but I can tell you that person A, when they start getting agitated, then I need to move them into the quiet room and provide an environment that is safe for them until they get calmed down or till they figure out what's going on. And I like that part of it because it's always forever changing. Now, my involvement with AOT, it is beyond what I thought it was going to be. I mean, I get so many kudos from watching people grow. One of the most important things for me is to watch people identify their illness and then start their recovery journey. I get so excited when people succeed because that's what it's all about. It's these little baby steps that move us to better ourselves. And although they look different for each individual, together, it's recovery. And that's what's really important about it. And that's why it's important, in my opinion, that's why it's important at our CRO that we have educational material about almost every mental health issue that is involved. So if you come to my CRO and you have bipolar, you can go to we have a resource area that you can go and get pamphlets on bipolar. If you have schizophrenia, if you have PTSD, if you have depression disorder, those are all disorders, but we all come together and it's like, it's like alphabet soup. We all have a place in the alphabet soup. It may look a little different and it may act a little different, if I may say, respond, and learn. You learn different, but together we make something sustainable, something that will carry on. I will tell you that High Plains was founded in 1997. We got, like I said earlier, we got our 501c3 in 1994. And it says that Ohio, in the history, is High Plains is unique in that the members have formed various self-help groups that complement their regular CRO activities. The older CRO members facilitate a senior group, and members from the community are invited to attend. In addition, HPII networks with and hosts events for two other CROs in our region. And that would be, well, actually it's three other now, or yeah, it'd be the Great Bend Support Group, Colby CRO, and Dodge City CRO. And we have shared experience where that is concerned. Also at our CRO, we spend a lot of time talking about recovery and dual diagnosis. We have a lot of support. We have years, and I mean years. We have two people that have over 25 years of sobriety. We have an 8-year person and a 5-year person. And, then we have the individuals that are just coming in and they've got 3 days, and so we use that to help each other. But we have a women's group on Monday at noon for an hour before the CRO opens for women in an alcoholic woman that wants to get in recovery. And on Wednesday at 5:30, the NA group has a women's group that meets there. So we want to give back to the community. We want to be a safe place for people to meet. And so that's how we work with getting our name out there. In the next slide, I don't know if there's another one. Okay, yeah. Okay, now there are currently 9 CROs in operation across the state and several support groups in towns where a CRO does not exist. Okay, so then I put down, when I found out about AOT, I knew I wanted to try to fit it into my schedule. I saw the need. Folks who come into AOT need to see a familiar face from someone who gets them. And for that, I mean, when they see me, they associate me with NAMI and or the CRO. So they know that I am a person with lived experience. And I'm not just educated, and I'm not part of the legal team, but I am a co-person with them whom they can hopefully provide the trust for them to stay in recovery. The thing that I love most is watching the people in the AOT program just blossom. You come out of their shell, come out of whatever's going on, and start becoming active and participants in their own life and in their own recovery. And that's why I think this is very important. Okay, you can go online to find a CRO or support group closest to you at the KDAD's website that I have here. And I will say the reason we went from 22 to 9 is because of funding. When funding was pulled, a lot of CROs couldn't make it through. And that's why we don't, most CROs do not rely solely on the state KDAD's contract money. We're out, so to speak, beating the pavement for donations and looking for, oh, help me, Kathy. Looking for funding sources. There we go. I'll get there. So if you see me, you'll hear my spiel, so to speak. But, I've been doing this. Okay, if I look at it, and I just did the figures to see. Okay, I knew about mental illness back in '66 when my brother was diagnosed. So I've had 57 years as a family member in that. I've worked in the field since 2006. So I have 17 years of professional. And then I have my own life, which can add a few years to. In my book, and I hope y'all understand this, and I just really, you could have book learning, and I can tell you that people with mental illness can tell the difference where your passion is with your job. You have your book learning, you have your passion, maybe somebody maybe that's why you got into social work or got into a counseling role or got into whatever, dealing with the young people who are struggling these days. you don't need a title to lead. You just need to care. People would rather follow a leader with a heart than a leader with a title. And, you know, you are the expert of your own mental health issues and recovery. And we encourage everybody who struggles with a mental illness, everybody who works with people with a mental illness, to embrace the fact that they are the professional of their own life and their own mental health issues. They can tell you more, may not want to, but they can tell you more about where their life has gone and how recovery has happened if we just be silent enough to let them tell their story and provide a safe environment where they can tell their story. I think that's the most important thing involved in this program is that that trust and that freedom to share your story. And that's it.
Thank you, Gina.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think definitely learning more about CROs and where they're located is important, not just within like AOT, but also in mental health in general. I think it is one of those well-kept secrets that really do benefit peers in any community, really. Let me see. Now, Kathy will bring up some discussion questions again, just so we could learn more about the audience knowledge on consumer-run organizations in their area.
Okay. Do you know if you are one of the communities that has a CRO? So you can type in the chat or you can unmute yourself.
I know here in like Dodge City, we do have the Dodge City Peaceful Tribe. They're the local CRO in the Dodge City area, and you know, one of my goals, or maybe, well, yeah, one of my goals is to do something like what Gina has done there in Hayes, and being able to collaborate with like NAMI Southwest Kansas and the Dodge City Peaceful Tribe in order to offer more resources for peers in our area.
Okay, we have some responses. Jeff said their CRO Crow's Nest disbanded around 2015. Tara said their STES. Sandy said Milestone Clubhouse. Here in Riley County, we have Morningstar CRO. And I want to put a plug in for something that Morningstar is doing. Next weekend, the 25th and 26th, Saturday and Sunday, K-State's drama therapy department is putting on their plays, and the actors are the participants of Morningstar CRO. So if you're able to go to that, go, and we'll have a table there. NAMI Flint Hills will have a table there as well, and you can pick up resources.
And I will just say that last year I was invited to speak at this program. So I went up there. It was awesome. You know, people are hungry for answers. They're looking for answers. They're hungry for people that, you know, do. I met the parents of a young man who was just amazed at what we were doing, not just me, but in Manhattan and around with getting the educational part out.
Okay. If you do have a CRO in your community, are you aware on how to contact them? Do you have their brochures or flyers or anything in your mental health center, or your workplace?
I can go ahead and answer some of this if nobody else will, or if whatever. So with Milestone Clubhouse, we have in close contact with them. We also do kind of the releases to help get them approved to go to the Milestone Clubhouse. We also we have staff that go there often and take our consumers there, and it's kind of like a mutual. What do you want to say? I don't even know what I want to say. I get so nervous. Kind of a mutual thing that we do back and forth just to help our consumers and get what they need to get. So.
Yeah, and I will say Clubhouse Models is another form of recovery process, and theirs is a little more structured, but we work in conjunction with clubhouses in our area that we don't have one in Hayes, but I know in Wichita, PI, Project Independence, works with the clubhouse here in Wichita. And they share events. And I will say, Jeff, I'm actually the representative for down in Liberal, and I am working on getting in contact with Lewis Marshall, and because he would like to see another CRO about down there, but we may be starting a support group first. So you may be hearing from me.
Our CRO Morningstar here does have a NAMI connection group on Thursday afternoons. So whoever's there can attend that group. If there's no other questions or responses to this, I'll just hand it back over to you. So
Thank you, Kathy. And thank you, Gina, as well, and everyone who responded to that discussion. I think definitely starting up the conversation is always that first step to being able to find more resources and being able to build more resources in your area. Definitely, you know, I think the things that I've learned the most are sometimes something that I hear as a pass by conversation, and those sometimes do end up growing into more bigger scale projects. And now for that, the second section of our presentation, which is more about what is peer support and explaining a little bit more about peer support and peer support specialists and the process of that here in Kansas. So peer support includes a range of activities and interactions between people who share similar experiences of being diagnosed with mental health conditions, substance use disorders, or both. And Gina did touch base a little bit on this within her presentation and that importance of peers being able to support each other through their recovery journey and through the learning more about their diagnoses and learning more on how to travel that road. Peer support offers a level of acceptance, understanding, and validation not found in many other professional relationships. And as Gina stated, you know, it's someone has sometimes a degree, they have the education, they know how to work with someone with a peer, but when the peer themselves is able to offer that support, they are truly the experts in their own story and the experts in their field. They are able to offer that they have that extra knowledge on how to help someone that has a mental health diagnosis. And by sharing their own lived experiences and practical guidance, peer support specialists help people develop their own goals, create strategies for self-empowerment, and take concrete steps towards building fulfilling and self-determined lives for themselves. And I think with anyone within mental health, caregivers, family members, anyone really, I think that is everyone's end goal, being able to help any participant, any consumer, any peer, being able to gain that self-determination and that those abilities to eventually get them to that point in their lives. So peer support tends to offer great levels of self-efficiency, empowerment, and engagement. This is done by working in groups, by working one-on-one with each other, by participating in different activities such as joining in together and doing something at a consumer-run organization, a CRO, or participating together in the NAMI program like peer-to-peer or NAMI Connection, or any other peer-centered activities in their area. This mechanism, a benefit could come from the social connectedness experience from interacting with peers. So again, as we stated, really anyone with a severe or a serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar, depression, any other psychosis, the value of being able to identify within a group. This comes from being able to share their own stories, what they're going through, finding that validation through peers because they know they are understood and they know that that support will be there and that ability to find help is always going to be there. And oftentimes when we think of peer support or we know about peer support, it leads us to thinking about peer support specialists. And what is a peer support specialist? A peer support specialist sometimes is also called the peer worker, a peer recovery coach, or a peer advocate. And there's different types of peer support specialists. A peer support specialist is someone with a lived experience of recovery from a mental health condition, substance disorder, or both. And as we stated, and something I really like to emphasize, a peer support specialist or a peer worker is an expert within the field. They, in any treatment team, they're the ones that really can connect with the peer, the consumer. They're able to build those connections that help a treatment team achieve the goals in any given situation. Peer support specialists walk alongside people in their recovery, and they offer individualized supports in demonstrating that recovery is possible. Sometimes that could be the biggest example a peer receives within their treatment, and it's that working with the peer support specialist and seeing like the recovery is possible and it is completely attainable. And with this, I will also let Gina kind of discuss her personal experience as a peer support specialist and what she has experienced.
Yeah, I became a peer support specialist several years ago. I took it was I think it was a 4 day or 3.5 day inpatient, oh my gosh, in-persons training. And basically what a peer specialist does is help the peer put their mental illness in perspective, put their circumstance in perspective. And it's, in all reality, in my opinion, okay, this is my opinion, everybody has experiences, and your experiences in your life, you are the specialist in because you lived it. You know what you walked through. For peer support specialists, our job, if per se, is to help the peer stay focused on their recovery and not to focus totally on the negative, which we know with people with mental health issues, we tend to go down the negative hole. And I am too, fall into that when I'm severely depressed or when my PTSD is acting. I'm acting out with that. It just seems like I can't see beyond that narrow scope. And with a peer specialist, we are trained to help you open up that vision to see that you do have other choices. And it's not that we peer specialists don't tell you what choice to make. They help you look at the choices so that you can make an informed decision. Because I think that's just, and when I look at it, it's like, this is how normal people kind of know this. And I'm not saying that we're not normal, because I really dislike that, but my brain thinks different. And I have to redirect so that I don't get stuck in that negative. And if I can help somebody understand that what they're going through is very normal. Every person in existence has things that happened in their life that they struggle with. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. I think that's the biggest thing I try to come away with is you can do more if you want to. The more you learn about yourself, the more you can help the next person around, because you'll have it's very similar to the AA-NA process of the 12 steps. As you work through your area that of your alcoholism or drug addiction, then you can help the next person focus on their steps, not your steps, but their steps, and how that goes, how that looks, what it looks like. I know that the difference from when I was a child and my grandkids as children, well, the grandkids I'm thinking of are all in their 20s now, but they accept mental health issues. They just accept people with them. It's not a big deal to them. Back when I was a kid, it was a big deal. You kept it a secret, you hid it. And those are things that are really hard to process. And I'll just say, because it still baffles me, I went to my 30th class reunion, high school class reunion, 20 years ago. And I had people there that thought I had died because of the trauma in my house and the mental health that ran and the lack of services available for families with children with mental health issues. And since I got reconnected, when I go back this year, it's my 50th. And it's like, I am so connected to these people, and I didn't have a clue when I was a kid that they even had any idea of what was going on in my life. So being able to talk about it and being able to not just stay in the negative. Sometimes we get stuck in our stories that we just want to go on and on and on, and nobody wants to hear on and on and on. We want to hear, a little bit of your story so that you qualify yourself as a person with a mental illness. But then we want to hear your steps to recovery. What did it look like for you? What worked for you? Hayes CRO had an art major who did his internship for a year with the Hayes CRO. And he taught us artwork, but then he learned about recovery. And his thesis was a bridge from mental health chaos to recovery. And it was so awesome. And it brought so much encouragement to our CRO, because people who wouldn't participate in arts and crafts, who wouldn't do this. He had them doing everything. And it was amazing what they learned. And we still do. So as a specialist, the peer specialist, all that, okay, for me, all it means is that I understand my mental illness and I understand the steps it took for me to get there. And I have developed the ability to listen. Because sometimes people don't need a lot of advice. They just need to tell their story and to be heard. Everybody has an opinion. We all know what those are. So just allowing the peer to be able to talk about themselves and to share the highway that they were on, and the curves and the stops and the starts, and you know, you don't quit. I think that's the biggest thing, is you don't quit. You may have bumps in the road. We just talked in one of my groups this week while I was here in Wichita, you know, everybody has a hiccup. And it doesn't matter whether you have a mental illness or not, everybody has hiccups in their life. And how do you deal with that hiccup? What do you do? What resources do you have available to get that kind of help, to get what you're looking for? And not everybody, you know, it's not a one size fits all. Mental health issues are complicated and unique. You know, complicated can kind of be maybe the negative part, but the unique part is that we've all been caterpillars, and we're all growing to be butterflies. We are changing, we are evolving, and the world is accepting peers because we're accepting ourselves. I don't have to hold my head down because I have a mental illness. I hold my head up because I can share my story. And given that opportunity, it's just been a very much a privilege in the last 17 years to be able to tell people, share my story, and to tell them and give them hope. Because without hope, and that's one of the things with NAMI, you know, without hope, we have nothing. So there's always, you know, we always want to present hope. We always want them to understand that it may be rough, but there's hope. There is a rainbow at the end of this tunnel. And so keep that hope alive. Let them understand that what they're going through, as your peer, help them understand that what they're going through is fairly normal. We all have ups and downs. And the more normal we make it, the better it is. Because now we have people who are well educated, whether it be doctor, lawyers, whatever, medical, who are able to say, you know what, I suffer from depression, or I suffer from seasonal affective disorder, or, you know, or anybody that's lived through a trauma, a natural disaster. I have two granddaughters that were in the Greensburg tornado, and they're 2 years apart, and they were in the same tornado, and they have different ways of coping, and they process it totally different. And one has come out and now has a mental illness and is taking medication and is starting to do better. The other one had the coping skills, and we don't know why. One did. They grew up in the same house, but it just happens. So, you know, they're all unique. And living in Kansas, you could have all sorts of natural disasters that happen. The only thing we don't get is hurricanes. Kansas doesn't have enough water to have a hurricane, but we have tornadoes, and we have blizzards, and I lived through the ice blizzard in 2005, and I was in Garden City, and we had no electricity for several days. You know, we all had incidences in our lives that changed our lives, but they're turning points for us. We can either make it negative or make it positive. That's it. That's all.
Thank you, Gina. I think, yeah, from that perspective, you know, as a peer support specialist, it just really does tie in being able to, you know, offer your personal experiences to help someone else through the recovery process. And I think that is definitely one of the most important things. And you'll find peer support specialists work in many different settings. We have peer specialists that work in peer-run organizations, just like consumer-run organizations. There's peer support specialists that work in recovery, community recovery centers. They work in criminal justice settings, in community mental health centers, and homeless shelters. So, and I definitely think it's one of those careers or positions that are becoming a little more popular here recently, because it's any setting realistically could benefit of having a peer support specialist or a peer worker working alongside with them. And they really do bring a lot to the treatment team. And you know, it's a peer support specialist. They are there to complement the treatment team in order to help them with you know, any extra help that a person might need with their recovery.
And I think that, you know, a peer if a peer says to me, I'm having a rough day, you know, my answer is, okay, tell me about it. It's not what's wrong with you, but tell me what happened to you. What's going on? And they may not even know what the trigger was until halfway through our conversation, and then the light bulb comes on. That's okay. Let them tell their story until it does. Because everybody's light bulb comes on at a different time and a different watt, so to speak. You have your 20 watts, your 40 watts, then you have your 100 watts that are just so bright. So, you know, there's all those along the way that help define who we are.
Definitely. And that also ties into how the different supports that are offered by peer support specialists. And sometimes, you know, personally, I like breaking it down just to see it's the big spectrum of things that a peer support specialist can offer, but the individualized supports really do make the position even more bigger than it already is. So the peer support specialists, they offer that emotional support, which consists of providing empathy and companionship, because they truly understand what is going on. They know exactly how the person has felt. Maybe they had a similar experience. So they're able to offer that emotional support because they completely empathize with the person, and they would know what to do in that situation and how to handle that trigger, or how to stop a person, like Gina said, and really discreetly, you know, tell me what happened. And have the peer really explain what happened and how this has been affecting them. Then we have the instrumental support, which is more concrete supports such as housing or employment. And that means being able to, much like how Gina described is done in the CRO, they're able to help fill out housing applications, employment applications, any application that's someone might need to fill out, and they just need that extra support. A peer support specialist is the person to go to help an individual out with filling out this information. And also leading into the informational support. So a peer support specialist is able to make connections to inform an individual of maybe any referrals to community services that they might need, and more resources that support their health and wellness. This can consist of helping a person go to Catholic Charities and see what help they could get from Catholic Charities, taking a person to the doctor, helping them set up doctor's appointment, dentist appointments, really any appointment that will benefit, that will better that health and that wellness of the individual that they are working with. And they're able to do all these things with them because they truly empathize and they truly know the patients and the support that is necessary to help a person out with these life skills. And they're able to build that affiliational support. So they're making those connections to different community supports, activities and events, such as connecting a person to their CRO, connecting the person to their local NAMI affiliate, or maybe even teaching someone how to use a computer and how to log into Zoom in order to join in a NAMI support group virtually, as they are offered all throughout the state. And they are able to offer all these supports and individualize them really with any individuals that they are working with, any of these participants, and really guide them through this journey. As we mentioned earlier, peer support really focuses on that self-empowerment and being able to help a person through maybe learning different basic life skills, learning how to build self strategies and how to build goals and how to attain their goals. And that process is done by these different supports that are offered by a peer support specialist. And what more does a peer support specialist do? And really, they inspire, they walk, they eliminate, they provide, and they support. And by that, I mean that with they inspire, they are able to inspire hope that people can and do recover, because they themselves are the example. A peer support specialist is the example that, you build your goals, you walk through your recovery, you can do this. And they're the standing inspiration for any consumer that they're working with. And they're able to walk with people on their recovery journeys, because they have potentially lived through something very similar. They have that lived experience, so they know exactly about the cracks in the sidewalk. They know exactly what steps might be more difficult, what steps someone might need extra support in. So they're able to walk with someone and help them through this. And they are able to eliminate myths about what it means to have a mental health condition or substance use disorder. As Gina stated, there's always that stigma. And unfortunately, I don't think stigma is ever going anywhere. But thankfully, stigma has been reduced drastically recently, maybe in the last 10 to 15 years, we've seen less stigma. And now with the position of a peer support specialist, they are really helping eliminate even more myths and decrease that stigma even more, because they can prove that a peer can go through their recovery journey, and they are able to then use that experience to build a career out of it, a position, in order to help better the lives of someone else that's going through something similar. And they are able to provide that self-help education and link people to tools and resources, meaning as connecting anyone to those resources. They are able to provide that self-help education because they're able to empathize. Like, this is what happened when I went through something similar. Maybe this is what we could do to build your goals in order to help you walk past that, and in order for you to recover in different aspects. And then lastly, they're able to offer that support. They support people in identifying their goals, their hopes and dreams, and creating a roadmap for getting there. And with any mental health professional, really, that those goals that you see often, or that's always the case. You want to work towards those goals. You want to make sure someone is bettering themselves and attaining these goals. And sometimes, or most of the time, a peer support specialist is exactly the person who could help an individual, a participant, help them guide themselves through any necessary journey to get to the end of their goals. And they're able to help an individual identify these goals, because sometimes these goals run more than just of the goals the treatment team created. Sometimes these goals include being able to learn how to use a computer, being able to schedule your own doctor's appointment, being able to find resources by yourself, being able to fold your laundry. It's more in depth than just what we often skim by with a treatment plan. And a peer support specialist will know exactly what to do in those situations and exactly how to provide these supports. So these and they were able to do all this while having communication with the treatment team and being able to conduct any outreach and engage in any activities. And they do all this as a way to help gather and help push, guide a participant through their journey for recovery.
I will say, can I step in real quick?
Yes.
On the walk part, the reason it works so well is because that peer is watching you walk your walk. So you're not telling them to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. And I think that's really important.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. That experience and being able to walk alongside someone is really beneficial in those situations. Then we have a little bit more on how peer supports are improving mental health systems. Peer support specialists educate their colleagues and advance the field by sharing their perspectives and experience in order to increase understanding of how practices and policies may be improved to promote wellness and resiliency. So they do this by playing important roles in moving behavioral health professionals and systems towards recovery orientation. So as we have previously stated, there's always been that stigma when it comes to mental health and finding mental health services. And a peer support specialist knows exactly what it feels like to be stigmatized. They know, as Gina said, they know what it's like to want to hide away, not admit that you have a mental health condition, because you don't know how that's going to affect your life, your career, affect your friends, your family. And the mental peer support specialist is able to educate their colleagues on exactly what it feels like and exactly their life story and how they were able to overcome the stigma and overcome these thoughts, and how they were able to get to the point where they're on now, where they're able to guide other peers through their journey. And the perspective of a peer specialist, they really do complement the different aspects of a treatment team, the therapist, the case manager, even the medical provider, because they sometimes with a simple conversation with the peer support specialist, do you think this person would be able to do XYZ, or if they would be able to, what's the journey to obtain this goal? And a peer support specialist will more and more of those details in order to help anyone within the treatment team better fit the treatment plan to help these individuals. And peer support specialists have brought a lot to the table also when it comes to really adapting policies and practices around how to really help peers and how to make sure that any practice is completely revolving around their care and how they're going to get better. And that really does stem around that recovery orientation and that individualized planning on within any individual. You can follow any therapy theory in order to help an individual, but sometimes having that extra perspective that a peer support specialist and peer support can bring to the table is exactly what is necessary for the person to recover. And because peer support specialists, they connect better with their consumers, they are the experts in the field because they have the lived experience, as we've stated. And with that lived experience, they are able to bring that to the table, and they're able to teach everyone with their teams how to use the skill. And so according to SAMHSA, peer support specialists and peer support in general, they really do increase empowerment and hope within individuals that they are working with. They also increase community engagement because they are able to help these consumers get out into the community. They take them to NAMI meetings, they take them to meetings in the CRO, they take them to engage in community events. I know there's sometimes some places that offer like a mental health day, and they have things. I know Great Bend has something like that once a year. There's a mental health day, and there's a bunch of different activities and prizes and snacks someone could go to. And a peer support specialist will help a person, guide them through any anxiety that they might be feeling in order to go to these community events. And they also help decrease self-stigma. And that is one of the biggest things, is that a peer support specialist really does help. They're the living proof that you can overcome your illness and you are not your diagnosis. And I think that's an important part, is that your diagnosis does not completely define you, and you are able to continue around your journey through that stigma. And they are also increase quality of life and life satisfaction. And with that, I mean, like being able to do your own laundry, being able to schedule your own doctor's appointments, being able to really do things individually. And that really does increase anyone's quality of life. And those goals are completely attainable within someone's personal life experience. And the peer support process is, I think, as we see in a lot of different professions, it's very similar throughout any different state. But I did include what peer support like is in Kansas in that certification. So in Kansas, we have the Kansas Certified Peer Specialist Training, and it occurs in 2 different parts. And all of this information and how to obtain these applications and where to find these trainings you can find those at the KDAD's website. But we have the level 1 certification, which this is online. This is a self-paced format in order to receive your level 1 certification. And then there is a level 2 certification as a Kansas peer specialist, which is about 2.5 days in-person training that is offered 4 times a year in varying locations around the state. And on the Kansas and the KDAD's website that I included here, you can find this information on how to apply and find these applications. And also another thing to gather is that certified peer specialists also follow a code of ethics, and you could also find this code of ethics there on the website. But the code of ethics that were developed for Kansas peer specialists, they were approved by the Kansas Consumer Advisory Council for adult mental health. And this really does provide that even these code of ethics were developed by experts within their field. They have the knowledge to know exactly what is necessary of a peer support specialist to fulfill their position. And that's really what we want to see within such professions. And with those trainings, there's also other various trainings on the website. We also have peer support specialists that are more in that are involved more with the substance abuse disorders. And we have peer specialists that are more involved with the community mental health centers. And these certifications, there's different certifications that they could take in order to achieve these as well.
And if you don't mind, I'm going to take a minute here. Just so that everybody here knows, we have an upcoming Kansas Mental Health Advocacy Day coming in March 7th of this year. It's at the state capitol, and it's consumers, family members, providers, advocates, for a chance to become better informed about mental health policies and issues in the Kansas legislature, and to educate yourself about issues of the day. And I will say that, CROs are fairly good at providing, like if your legislator is doing a Saturday morning talk or a tea or coffee or whatever, of getting people there so that the legislators hear our voice, because we are voting, most of us are voting members, and they want to please us. So they start to listen to you. And that's coming up March 7th. And then in June, we have the Recovery Conference. It's June 6th and 7th in Wichita, Kansas, Holiday Inn East, Rock Road, and Kellogg. And it's a 1.5-day conference where peers are educating other peers, and we acknowledge the work that's done in the state of Kansas, and we get together and we have some fun, and we have some education, and we have some networking, and all that is important as you're working with people to see that this continues, and it is an evolving relationship. I think that I went to a couple of them and I didn't think anything about it. Well, then I was asked to do one because my expertise in my own recovery is suicidal ideation. And so I started doing talks on and presenting classes on, we need to be allowed to say, I'm having suicidal ideation without the fear of being thrown in the hospital before you find out whether I'm even have a plan or anything. People just react to the fact that you say that you're having suicidal ideation. And I've gotten so much confirmation from people that they need more education on that. So every year I tend to do a workshop or two about suicidal ideation, or what it's like to fall back. Maybe you fall back on some of your habits that are not good for you. And the one thing a peer support person can do is they can remind you that you've gone through similar things and you have succeeded. We can help remind you that you've walked this through before, and that it's going to be okay, and that it's not the end of the world. And help others to find their success story.
Thank you, Gina. And definitely, I attended the recovery conference last year, and actually I presented on AOT. And if you have a peer support specialist on your staff, or you yourself are curious to learn more about peers and their recovery process, I definitely would 100% recommend this conference. And if anyone is interested, you go ahead and send me an email or put it down in the chat, because I will be more than happy to forward on this information once registration and all that opens, because it is, as Gina said, that conference is really eye-opening. And I think definitely as a mental health professional, or as a peer, as a family member, even as a community member, you would really benefit and learn a lot from the presentations and the workshops that are offered within this conference. And not just that, just being able to be in a room with peers and being able to hear their stories and their recovery journeys is really eye-opening as well. I think that really does add that extra perspective on the importance of being able to provide resources for the peers in our community, and being able to have more peer support specialists available as well within any setting, not just mental health settings. And with that, I open the discussion now up to Kathy.
Okay. So I took way back in 2007, before everything was online. I did take the peer support specialist training. It was through KU social work department at the time, and they came to K-State and had a classroom, and I don't remember if we did it in a 4-week period or every day, or if we did it 1 or 2 days a week for the semester. That was a long time ago. But I did get the training then. I probably need to update a few things. And then I got a job as a women's peer counselor when we had a regional AIDS project here. And I did that until I started graduate school. So the question, do you know how working with a peer support specialist can be beneficial? After listening to what Itzel and Gina said, can you add anything to that? Okay. And are you aware if your community mental health center has peer support specialists on staff? I don't see any reply. So I was wondering if I could lead everybody in an exercise right now.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Could you help me out here? I want people to take themselves off camera so we can see them and not the PowerPoint. So some of you were at the first education meeting where we talked about our connection recovery support groups, and there are a lot of you at this meeting that weren't there. So we're going to do an exercise that that we do in our connection recovery support groups. So it's just an example of what your participants or your clients or even yourself might do coming to a group. So for this exercise, I need everybody to turn their camera on if you're able to, please, because it's an interactive participation kind of thing. So I am a facilitator of many groups, 5, 6, I don't know how many, I've lost count. We have connection recovery support groups for veterans. If you have participants or staff that are veterans, we have a group for the LGBTQ community. I help co-facilitate both of those. We have a women's group, which is tonight. reason we have a women's group is sometimes if there's not something available, you just have to do it yourself. There were no women's groups and that I could find anywhere, not even in other states. So I started one. So one of the things that we do, at least one of my facilitators and I do in all of our groups, is our closing. And so tonight with the women at the end of our group, I will ask each person if they are safe and if others are safe. Then we will go through our principles of support and we'll ask each one what principle of support are they going to follow through the week. So the activity that we're all going to do here is it's Friday. We have the weekend coming. We've just sat through this education class, and I don't know about anybody else, but the fourth week of the month is always very, very busy for me. That's when everybody wants their meetings and connection groups and everything. So it's the weekend and we all need some self-care. So we go around and we ask everybody, what is your self-care for the upcoming week? So that's where I would like everyone to participate if they can. We do have a pass rule as well, but this is something that we do in a connection group. So for me, for self-care, I'm not going to do anything tomorrow at all, except probably just watch TV, do laundry, catch up on things. My daughter's getting married on Sunday, so I'll be going to that. And then it's her third marriage. It's his third marriage. Technically, it's not a wedding. They're just going to have a nice lunch for family. And then the pastor's going to whip out the wedding certificate and they're going to sign it. And that's that. But, and then just I just need the day off tomorrow just to prepare myself for that in the upcoming week. So, Gina, would you like to go? What's your self-care for next week? This coming week?
Well, since I've been out of town all week, my first self-care is to sleep in my own bed. I don't know about anybody else, but get a really good night's sleep. And then touch base with my peers. Well, I'll do Saturday at the CRO and we'll play some cards and we'll talk and that's always good for me because even though I'm the director, I allow myself to become vulnerable so that they understand that even though I'm the director, I still live life and I still have issues and I still have struggles at times. And I don't focus on them all the time, but I just need to be connected to my people. And that's where I plan on being. And Sunday will probably be, I don't know. I don't know what to do without football. So I'll probably watch a movie or something.
So then we just ask for people to go ahead and speak up. So who's next? Or do I have to call names?
I think I mean, I agree on Gina with that. My Sundays will look different without football, but this weekend will definitely be just taking time for myself and taking time to reset my home and taking time to spend time with my family, definitely.
Okay,
I'll go ahead and share. For self-care this weekend, I will be actually going out of town, seeing family for a little bit. And then I also do a lot of crafting to keep my mind like focused and calm it down a little bit. So
Very good.
Room. Yes, I've worked on it for years, building it.
okay, do we have, who's next? Who wants to go next?
I'm trying to introduce you to my favorite self-care, but he's not participating. Come on. Let's see if I've got my I've got my background blurred because it's not that pretty, but this is my puppy. He's I call him my medicine. He's definitely my self-care.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I need to get with my cats. Yeah, I'm the same way. They probably will not let me leave again for a long time.
Okay. Who's next? Jessica.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Turn your volume up on the computer.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
A little better, yeah.
Okay. What it says, I am really not good at self-care. I have a lot of people that depend on me. I have a lot of different jobs. So my goal is to carve out 2 to 3 hours just for me. Just to find a corner to read or to do something that does not require someone else saying you will, you or won't.
Amen. I like that.
Okay. I'll just call the names. Melissa, would you like to share?
Unmute in the bottom left side.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Well,
I can go while she.
okay. We'll just
While
take
she's
one
doing
more.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, my self-care probably be getting some sunlight. These past few weeks, I haven't gotten a lot of sunlight, so I
Oh,
might
yeah.
just sit outside and just relax and soak it all in.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Okay. So this is just an example of what we do in our groups. We also ask for coping skills as well, and we also make sure we specify healthy coping skills because we don't want to know your
Unhealthy one.
coping skills. So turn it back over to Itzel, and thank you for participating.
Thank you, Kathy. I really appreciate that demonstration. I think it's one of the unique things that we see with our NAMI groups and how they're ran, and the importance of self-care and healthy coping skills, as you said. But right now, before we end, we just want to know if anyone has any questions or comments that they would like to bring up before we formally end our presentation. You post them on the chat, and if you're not comfortable with saying it out loud, you could also email us at any given time. And we would also like to inform everyone that we might have a little shift in time in the time slots, but definitely our session 3 will be held Friday, April 21st. And then our session 4 will be held in July 21st. And we try to have our sessions quarterly, but I understand that in May, graduations happen, NAMI walks happen. We have preparation for the recovery conference, as well as different other conferences that happen in that time frame. So we decided just to push it up a little bit for April. We don't have the topics determined for these next following sessions, but definitely be waiting for my emails, my email spam, as I like to call it sometimes. And we really would like to thank everyone who was able to dedicate time on their busy Friday, I'm assuming, in order to.
We had a hand up.
Oh,
Heather,
sorry. Yes.
you have something you wanted to ask?
Oh, thank you. I was just going to ask, is everybody here that's on this meeting on your email list to invite to those following sessions?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if anyone has, so once I send out these invitations, you could forward them on to anyone that you think would benefit. So anytime I send out the first, I send out like an announcement with the save the date. On that save the date, I like to announce what the presentation will be regarding. And if you have anyone, a community member, staff member, anyone really, that you think, that you think would benefit from the discussion, you go ahead and send them, forwarded the email. That's what we really like to spread the word on these educational sessions, and why we like to make them on topics that aren't just regarding AOT, but as well as anything within our mental health community. And typically I send out the save the date and you could forward it on. And then after that is when I also send out an agenda, and within any email I send out, I always include that registration link. So you're in order for you to register to witness or log into any of our educational sessions. So
Can I add?
yes.
Can I add one thing? For Heather and Kiona, you're on my contact list, and I will be overwhelming you with NAMI related materials. I would send it to Crystal, and she would just send it out to everybody, but you're on my list, so be prepared.
Yeah, and that also includes if anyone has any questions regarding AOT, regarding NAMI, or suggestions for that of information that you would like to receive in our different educational sessions, you can always email us at any time. You can email me. My contact information is on the screen. Kathy and Gina provided their emails within the chat box, and never hesitate to reach out and ask questions or ask for resources, because that's definitely what we're here for. So if no one has any other comments or anything else, I really appreciate you for joining today, and we really hope you join in on our third session that will be in April.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for your participation.
Thanks, guys.